Rouse thyself. Do not be idle. Follow the law of virtue. The virtuous rests in bliss in this world and in the next. Follow the law of virtue. Do not follow that of sin. The virtuous rests in bliss in this world and in the next. Look upon the world as a bubble. Look upon it as a mirage. The king of death does not see him, who thus looks down upon the world. Come, look at this glittering world, like unto a royal chariot. The foolish are immersed in it, but the wise do not touch it. He who formerly was reckless and afterwards became sober, brightens up this world, like the moon when freed from clouds. He whose evil deeds are covered by good deeds brightens up this world, like the moon when freed from clouds. This world is dark. Few only can see here. A few only go to heaven, like birds escaped from the net. The swans go on the path of the sun. They go through the ether by means of their miraculous power. The wise are let out of this world when they have conquered Mara and his train. If a man has transgressed one law, and he speaks lies and scoffs at another world, there is no evil he will not do. The uncharitable do not go to the world of the gods. Fools only do not praise liberality. A wise man rejoices in liberality, and through it becomes blessed in the other world. Better than sovereignty over the earth, better than going to heaven, better than lordship over all worlds, is the reward of the first step in holiness. The Buddha, the awakened. He whose conquest is not conquered again, into whose conquest no one in this world enters, by what track can you lead him, the awakened, the omniscient, the trackless? He whom no desire with its snares and poisons can lead astray, by what track can you lead him, the awakened, the omniscient, the trackless? Even the gods envy those who are awakened and not forgetful, who are given to meditation, who are wise, and who delight in the repose of retirement from the world. Difficult to obtain is the conception of men. Difficult is the life of mortals. Difficult is the hearing of the true law. Difficult is the birth of the awakened, the attainment of Buddhahood. Not to commit any sin, to do good, and to purify one's mind. That is the teaching of all the awakened. The awakened call patience the highest penance, long-suffering the highest nirvana. For he is not an anchorite, pravragita, who strikes others. He is not an ascetic, sramana, who insults others. Not to blame, not to strike, to live restrained under the law, to be moderate in eating, to sleep and sit alone, and to dwell on the highest thoughts. This is the teaching of the awakened. There is no satisfying lusts, even by a shower of gold pieces. He who knows that lusts have a short taste and cause pain, he is wise. Even in heavenly pleasures he finds no satisfaction. The disciple who is fully awakened delights only in the destruction of all desires. Men, driven by fear, go to many a refuge, to mountains and forests, to groves and sacred trees. But that is not a safe refuge. That is not the best refuge. A man is not delivered from all pains after having gone to that refuge. He who takes refuge with Buddha, the law, and the church, he who, with clear understanding, These the four holy truths: pain, the origin of pain, the destruction of pain, and the eightfold holy way that leads to the quieting of pain. That is the safe refuge. That is the best refuge. Having gone to that refuge, a man is delivered from all pain. A supernatural person, a Buddha, is not easily found. He is not born everywhere. Wherever such a sage is born, that race prospers. Happy is the arising of the awakened. Happy is the teaching of the true law. Happy is peace in the church. Happy is the devotion of those who are at peace. He who pays homage to those who deserve homage, whether the awakened Buddha or their disciples, those who have overcome the host of evils and crossed the flood of sorrow. He who pays homage to such as have found deliverance and know no fear. This merit can never be measured by anybody. 15. Happiness. Let us live happily then, not hating those who hate us. Among men who hate us, let us dwell free from hatred. Let us live happily then, free from ailments among the ailing. Among men who are ailing, let us dwell free from ailments. Let us live happily then, free from greed among the greedy. Among men who are greedy, let us dwell free from greed. Let us live happily then, though we call nothing our own. We shall be like the bright gods, feeding on happiness. Victory breeds hatred, for the conquered is unhappy. He who has given up both victory and defeat, he, the contented, is happy. There is no fire like passion. There is no losing throw like hatred. There is no pain like this body. There is no happiness higher than rest. Hunger is the worst of diseases, the body the greatest of pains. If one knows this truly, that is nirvana, the highest happiness. Health is the greatest of gifts, contentedness the best riches. Trust is the best of relationships, nirvana the highest happiness. He who has tasted the sweetness of solitude and tranquility is free from fear and free from sin, while he tastes the sweetness of drinking in the law. The sight of the elect, Araya, is good. To live with them is always happiness. If a man does not see fools, he will be truly happy. He who walks in the company of fools suffers a long way. Company with fools, as with an enemy, is always painful. Company with the wise is pleasure, like meeting with kinsfolk. Therefore, one ought to follow the wise, the intelligent, the learned, the much enduring, the dutiful, the elect. One ought to follow a good and wise man, as the moon follows the path of the stars. Pleasure. He who gives himself to vanity and does not give himself to meditation, forgetting the real aim of life and grasping at pleasure, will in time envy him who has exerted himself in meditation. Let no man ever look for what is pleasant or what is unpleasant. Not to see what is pleasant is pain, and it is pain to see what is unpleasant. Let therefore no man love anything. Loss of the beloved is evil. Those who love nothing and hate nothing have no fetters. From pleasure comes grief. From pleasure comes fear. He who is free from pleasure knows neither grief nor fear. From affection comes grief. From affection comes fear. He who is free from affection knows neither grief nor fear. From lust comes fear. He who is free from love knows neither grief nor fear.
And all my life wouldn't have been my drug of choice. I'm weak when it comes to that. But when it comes to worldview, my country,
knows neither grief nor fear.
The sky will fall before I betray my country.
Virtue and intelligence.
So
who
in
is
that,
just,
I'm rock
solid.
The truth. I know
there's
a lot of other guys out there just like that. You pay like President Trump. He's not perfect either, but I believe he loves this country.
He in whom a
and I
desire
believe he's
for the ineffable.
I don't know about some of the people around me. I'm worried about that. So
and whose thoughts are not bewildered by love. He is called Erdfremsrotus, carried upwards by the stream.
Not all of them carried guns. So there's old people that, man like traffic cones and things like that. But he did have an element, he called it in the search and rescue unit, but they were guys in Jeeps with AR-15s, and they were well trained. And they were in good shape. So my point is that every sheriff should have a posse. All these sheriffs in the CSPA that say they're a constitutional sheriff, ask them where their posse is. Unless they have a posse like Sheriff Arpaio has, they're full of crap. You know right now. They're just politicians mouthing what they know you want to hear, but they're not taking care of your infrastructure. They're not ready for a jihadi cell attacks in their neighborhoods and in their city. They're not ready for the cartels going active also. They're not ready for any of that. So until they raise a posse, they have the authority to do so. Until they do, they're just posers. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to call them out right now. I don't care who they are. Same goes for your governors. If your governors will not call you up as the militia, get you organized and trained, then they need to go. If your state legislature won't step up and organize and train you as they have the authority to do as a militia, they need to go. That's what I'm saying. President Trump needs to do it. He can do it right now. All these weenie sheriffs are not going to do it. I've been trying for years to get them to do it. They just won't do it. I've given up on them. The only one that ever did it was Sheriff Arpaio.
Let's go to Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
The politicians, you can't rely on them either. But right now, President Trump has the ability to do it. That's why one thing you all could do, more important than anything else we're talking about, is encourage him to call up the militia and form us into county units and then deploy us down to the border. But I'm gonna write this up as a proposal. I need to do that. I'm gonna sit down this next week and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write it all out. Here's his basis, constitutional basis. Here's his federal statute basis. Here's what he needs to do. And maybe I'll enlist Ivan to help me do this. But we'll just write this up as a proposal and they give it to him. And we'll cite all the appearances on Sean Ryan's podcast by terror experts. John Guandolo has been ringing the bell about this. Sarah Adams, Sean has himself, right? So they've been saying this is what's coming, people. It's not a hypothesis. This is what we know is coming. They've told us they're going to do this. Al Qaeda has already announced it. They're going to do this in the United States. So what President Trump can do and must do is revitalize the militia.
Can I finish saying what I was going to say?
Yeah, go ahead, Billy.
I'm sorry, man. I got on a rant there. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
You're good. So, to get at what he was building at, which I am certain via his circumstance, he knows through and through. The best way to perceive the circumstance at hand would be this. Look at the quote-unquote U.S. government as the mob, right? It is the mob.
Billy.
The moment you begin to see it as that, and then understand that all of these alphabet soup agencies are the exact same entity, you will come to the conclusion that everything makes sense. Until you can actually see the hands of that puppet master, everything is just chaos.
We got the point.
Right?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Then,
I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
then what you need to understand is that the Fraternal Order of Police is a terrorist organization, and I will land there.
Thank you. If you guys can keep the points quick, we want to get questions.
Hey, look, in my organization, about 30% of my membership was cops. These were good men. They became police for the right reason. They're good cops. But they would tell you stories about bad cops. I had one guy that used to be a undercover narcotics guy. He was going out there and snaring drug trafficking rings. But then he realized that the CIA was the biggest drug trafficking cartel in the world, and he just realized, what's the point of this? The drug war is a complete joke. And drug war is a joke anyway. You can't keep drugs out of prison. I watched every day my unit guys overdosing on drugs. It's ridiculous. It's like prohibition didn't work. Drug prohibition does not work. All it does is create a black market for drugs that makes billions of dollars, trillions of dollars every year for the cartels and for the
It is
politicians.
designed specifically to do exactly that.
Oh yeah.
Guys, we're not gonna have interruptions.
They don't want that.
Steve here and Stewart, if you
No,
interrupt.
you're good. No, you're right. And they don't want that to end. So it leads to dirty cops. Okay. I saw when I was working in a gun shop in Vegas, I was there as a concealed carry instructor, and I started managing a gun shop. I watched local narcotics guys rolling in with brand new Corvettes, brand new Harleys, things they'd confiscated from people, whether that were actually drug dealers or not, I don't know. But they benefited from the drug war because they got to roll around and cool toys. And their department got a lot of money from all the seized assets from people they accused, just accused. You had asset forfeiture in this country that's been done to people, no trial. They just take their stuff, say it was involved in drugs, and then they have to fight to get their stuff back. That's as bad as the red flag bills where your guns are taken and then you got to hire a lawyer, spend $10,000 to get your guns back. Same kind of crap. So my point is that the drug war has led to corruption, and it is in every department in the country, just as the drug war has led to corruption in the DOJ and state prosecutions too. You've got corrupt attorneys now, prosecutors who go out there, and it's the same crap. I've met tons of guys in prison who are in there for what we call ghost guns or ghost drugs. In other words, no actual drugs were found, no guns were found, just some other poor sap who got wrapped up and accused of something was coerced into testifying to say that I saw Joe Schmo with guns or drugs. And on that testimony alone, juries across the country put people in prison. And the feds love to do this. So I'm just saying, it's rotten. So a big part of it is the war on drugs. It needs to go away. You should treat drugs exactly the same as you treat alcoholism. You wouldn't have 100,000 Americans dead from fentanyl if you had legalized drugs that people just go buy the same way they do alcohol. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's ridiculous. Look what happened in Portland. Do you want 100,000 dead Americans? Then don't have the cartels being the source for people that are wanting pain pills and can't get them, or wanting a temporary escape. It's not a death sentence. Because some teenager decided to get high, they don't deserve to friggin' die. If you believe that, then you're soulless. They don't deserve it. And same goes for all these men that I met in prison. They're in there because they were low-level drug users, and they're wrapped up and accused of being like one kid, like 20 years old. He was in there for conspiracy to distribute, and also what happened was that he had to take a plea deal because a drug dealer he bought some pills from sold some pills to somebody else, a girl who died of fentanyl overdose. They found this kid's number in the drug dealer's phone. So they wrapped this kid up and said he was involved in a conspiracy to distribute that led to her death. So they threatened him with like 3 years in prison, or you can take 5. He took 5. He was just a low-level purchaser of pills because he got hooked on prescription pills, and then he couldn't get them from a doctor. He went and bought them from a drug dealer. So I'm just saying, but the point is that it leads to injustice and leads to corruption. So yes, you have a problem in this country with dirty cops. That's a problem. What I don't like about Black Lives Matter is they try to make it all about black people. So the only people that are being abused by cops in this country are black. And then they also, of course, no matter what is going on, if it's a black person, they argue that the shooting was unjustified, even if the guy was pulled a knife or pulled a gun. So it's a mess, is what I'm saying. But there's a legitimate problem with bad cops doing bad things to people that ends up in them, killing people or abusing their civil rights, and that needs to be fixed.
Okay, so real quick, some parameters as we go forward, guys. I do not want to interrupting. If you have a question for Stewart,
oh no, you got it's cool, man. It's good. I tend to go on too long, so I don't mind.
No, you're good. But I'm gonna moderate this. It's not you. It's that we have people that jump in the middle of you talking, and
that's cool. Remember the conversation. Just picture we're all just having beers around a table. I don't mind. I really don't.
I get it, but I run things a particular way because we don't want people talking over each other.
All right, man.
So, I get it. You're a humble guy. Let me go to Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
Hey, thanks, man. And I agree with the parameters. Raise your hand. get your point across as quickly as possible, and then land the plane, because there's a lot here to unpack. I agree with almost everything you're saying. I say almost because there's some things I couldn't hear because people were talking over. I want to say this. I am in California, all right? I would never advocate for violence. I am a 6-hour academy certified instructor in literally every discipline they've ever had. I train HRT teams, right? I am a California Post instructor. I am a California DOJ CCW instructor, which is just fucking stupid to begin with. And I know a lot about cops out here. And the problem is not just dirty cops or bad cops. The problem is also cops out here in California are just not trained. Most of the cops that I have initially trained with bring their guns to the class in the case, right? Because they get 40 hours of training on a rifle range or pistol range during their academy, and that's it. Maybe, depending upon the department, they have to shoot a qual once or twice per year. That qual is so low level, it's frightening. You know, when I went through my post class, because I had to at 58 years old, and outdid everyone because, you know, I know how to move the trigger to the rear without adding motion to the gun. So, you know what I mean? Some of the things that these guys can't do is because they're not taught. And, you know, it's so easy to explain exactly how to make a hit on a steel target, period, right? It is. And dry fire practice and all of these things. But organizing people requires people to not be afraid. And I've been fighting California government since I got here. Hell, you could Google Givens v. Newsom and see what I did during COVID or just anywhere. I am not a fan of government. I believe what President Trump is doing, and what I hope that he's doing, is as he eliminates a lot of these federal departments and agencies, and a lot of this comes back to states as is constitutionally required, then people will start to see that it is not the big government that is the problem. It's the people who don't hold anybody accountable that are the problem. In California, for Christ's sake, you know that there's been two times since the 1950s in the state of California where Republicans had simple majorities in the legislature here. 1969 and 70, 1995 and 1996. That's it. There's literally nothing you can do to blame anything on Republicans in California. Yeah, Reagan came out of here. Yeah, we've had a couple of Republican governors. Hang on one sec, okay, please. Because what I want to do is land this plane exactly right here, right now. We the people must find a way to get the message out that yes, we flipped 10 counties in California in 2024. We'll flip 10 more before the midterms. We flipped 10 more before the presidential election in 2028. We vote Republican again in California for president, and no other swing states matter. Any Republican that wins here wins the country. And now the other part of this puzzle is I'm not sure that after the midterms there will be a Democrat party or a Republican party left. There may be a Patriot party and then other. And that would be a beautiful thing. I'll land it right there. And thank you.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is that, like, I have family in California. I was born in Fresno. I still have family in California. So I know that California, I mean, frankly, Bud, he might have actually been majority Republican. The problem is you don't have clean elections, right? You got illegal aliens voting, you got all the mass mail-in ballots, all that crap going on. And you got voter voting, all that. So that's one problem. But another problem is, this is important, is that the Republican Party is to blame for continuing to run rhino shills. And that makes patriots throw their hands up and say, well, why am I even going to bother to participate? So you got people that, whether they're libertarians or old school, like Ron Paul Republicans or independents, who just don't show up to vote because they're sick and tired of being, smoke being blown up their ass by the Republican Party and then they want to look with rhinos. So that's one problem. Is you have a large number of people out there that just don't vote. They showed up for President Trump because they believe in him. But like we were talking about earlier, we have got to take over our local GOP county party and make sure we have patriots that are in those positions who then cultivate the candidates who are going to be legitimate America First MAGA candidates. And that you have a much better chance of winning because people that are old school, John F. Kennedy style Democrats like Robert Kennedy Jr. or Tulsi Gabbard will cross over and come vote for your candidate. That's what I think is the important point to make. So in some ways, it is Republicans' Party's fault because they are not running 100% MAGA America First candidates, right? They're just not.
You're absolutely right. The Republican Party, and I told this to Chris on a call a couple weeks ago, if anyone believes that there is not just as much or more evil on the right as there is on the left, they're wearing blinders. They're absolutely freaking ignorant of what is really going on. And I'm going to throw this last thing out and I'll land the plane. Because we had a recall election scheduled for, a couple years ago, right? The reason that was unsuccessful, the only reason that he was not recalled, 2.7 million Trump voters did not show up and vote in that recall election.
Right.
When he landed.
Yeah. Well, yes. So this is what we're seeing right now, too. Like, I work for Condemn USA. I'm their national spokesman. The donations have dried up. I've talked to other people that run MAGA, America First groups around the country. Their donations are drying up. I saw that with the Oath Keepers. When President Trump was elected the first time, I was like, thank God he got elected. But we saw our membership shrunk and our donations went down. People get this idea in their head, we won. President Trump's back in power, so now we can always go back to sleep. And that's just foolish. The left never does that. They push when they're in power. They push when they're out of power. They're always pushing their agenda. And like Travis Evans, the guy that started Condemned USA, said something. I saw him for the first time when I arrived at the D.C. jail. One of his employees, Jen Baker, had come to visit me in prison. Awesome patriot. And she came and picked me up along with Mel Hawley. So we drove down in the top chair. But now we got to keep pushing. Shots of courage that needs to. We've got to purge them, especially the Republican Party. And we have, like I said before, you've got cowards and you've got traitors and grifters and people that have silver soul. They must be purged out. The Dan Crenshaw, the governor happens. I'll call him out. I think he's a globalist shill. Like on the border, it could be crazy. We're down the border, operations from California all the way to Texas. And we saw Governor Abbott post a few state police, fire patrol, and some concertina wire as a show.
Yeah. I don't know if you can join this X space, but this.
Do we have to listen to this dumb shit?
Yeah. I'm a speaker on this big X space right now called Defending Liberty with guest Stuart Rhodes. Patriots Unite.
Can I speak through your account if they say something that
No.
just on their leg on?
No, because there's no audio transfer. They won't even be able to hear you.
Then what the fuck are we listening to it for if I can't respond?
I sent you the link. I need you to go on X and join the room.
I don't have X.
Oh, you gotta get it.
I'm not gonna.
You gotta get
My
it.
old phone that you gave, the phone you gave me, I put like Snap and Insta and all that bullshit, and I hated it all, so I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, people, people give up. They delete.
But you're so fucking demanding of people's times on so many motherfucking different apps.
Yeah, I know. Spam, dude. I'm a manual spammer.
Dude, I've been talking with your opponent in Chicago,
Mhm.
I told him that I will work for his campaign for free.
Well, that's good because everybody has to work for free because everybody's broke in the whole party. Everybody looks like they fucking live out of their car.
It's such a garbage fucking conversation. Why the fuck are we listening like the further away from the
Because I want to
we
just
have
get
to
I
hear
just
this
want
dumb shit.
to I just want to get a sound clip in and then I'm headed into a hot bath. So
Well, go take care of your gout, and I'll talk to you later.
okay, I'll talk to you in like an hour.
I'm gonna ask you a question because you know the Constitution pretty well. We get a lot of ignorant opinions on this platform. We have people saying, "Oh, we need term limits." They're not going to vote for their own term limits. Oh, of course not. I'm just saying that that's a flaw. It's a flaw built in. Yeah, but yeah. But what about a state constitutional convention?
I worry about constitutional conventions, like a convention of the states you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the only other way to do it. I think you need
I worry about that because look at the founding fathers. They did not give the loyalists, they're called Tories, right? The loyal to the king, the ones that were fighting against our founders in the field, they didn't give them a vote at the Continental Congress. When they formed the Continental Congress, it was the Patriots formed their own new government, and their attitude was F the loyalists. We're not going to give them a vote. They didn't get a vote. The loyalists who were still loyal to the king didn't get a vote on whether or not to ratify the Amendment for Independence and separate from England. We weren't given a vote. They were given a vote on appropriations for the Continental Army. So the founders, the Patriots formed their own government. What I worry about with the Convention of States is who's going to wind up being a delegate to it. Are you going to have, once again, even within the so-called Republican circles, right? You're going to have establishment shills, global sellouts, people that have been bought and paid for, or been bribed or blackmailed. They're going to be in your convention, and now it's for all the marbles. The loyalists didn't get to participate in the Continental Congress. They didn't get a chance to participate in the convention that created the Constitution. So I worry about having a so-called convention of the states where you're going to wind up with your enemies, including inside the GOP, taking advantage of that to do more damage to our
I'm
constitutional
still
system.
planning tomorrow.
We're not enforcing the Constitution we have. Why would you want to rewrite it? How's it going to help anything? So I hate to be a pessimist about that, but that's what I worry about.
I was proposing the question because I've heard people talk about it, and I don't even know if that's an app. Is what I was saying.
Well, I know people that are all about that, and they're sincere, and they explain why they believe that it'll be okay. But I just worry. I mean, the original Constitutional Convention was originally supposed to just amend the Articles of Confederation, right? They scrapped the Articles of Confederation and formed a whole new government. It had to be ratified by state convention, but my point still stands. It was the Patriots who did that. They didn't give the loyalists a vote. Like in this country right now, I'm not going to give some Kool-Aid drinking, blue-haired, radical feminist lefty nut job who's been brainwashed into communism a vote on how we're going to amend the Constitution. And I'm not going to give some Rhino sellout Dan Crenshaw on how we're going to amend the Constitution. Dan Crenshaw's anti-gun. He believes
No,
gun
no, but
confiscation. Don't take the guns first, move on due process later. He's all about that. And so is Van Body, by the way. So there's a problem in our own camp. The founders, you're not going to get that same assembly of people that have that kind of personal experience and commitment to liberty. That's not the only ones you're going to get at a convention of the states. You're going to have your enemies
no,
there too.
but something just the one bill I got. I can get it. Let's see when I want to come over and
He was going to win that nomination. He would have been the nominee against Obama. I believe he would have beat Obama. For some reason, that Trump just beat Biden. That's the bottom line. So that's what I realized is
Swedish massage exchange, yoga.
I saw corruption in small town Montana.
To get rid of the pain.
Hunt County was a reserve sheriff deputy. Talk about a conflict of interest. Is he ever
Unless you want to come over, I'll treat you to lunch, dinner, and a Swedish massage exchange, and yoga to get rid of the pain.
prosecution behind Montana? Of course they are. I watched them do it. So I just lost faith in it. That's why I started with Kitover's focus. When the nomination was stolen from him, I realized we were in trouble. And I reported, we were walking above, I didn't know at the time. But I knew that we were in trouble on the left, we were in trouble on the right. I wanted to focus on the guys with guns. I want you to give them orders about your rights. I wanted them to throw a monkey wrench in the machine by causing strategic doubt in the minds of the powers that be. That when they give orders to violate our rights, we want to hold them to worry about whether those orders be followed or not. That's why I started the organization. And then after that, we also got into disaster relief with volunteer security. And we saw, going back to cops, this is my trouble with police officers. In Berkeley, California, we saw police officers be ordered to stand down, stand back, and let Antifa beat old people, women with clubs. We watched that happen. And we had a few guys like Base Stick Man and Hal Chapman, whatever his name was, that stepped up and tried to defend people, but they were outnumbered. And we were like, okay, we're not doing this again. So we went to the next rally that was held in that same park in downtown Berkeley. We were there. I had about 40 oath keepers, including 14 armed police officers. The local cops had about 100 other patriots, bikers, and cowboys biking together. Patriot and Berkeley, a bunch of guys. So, I did that. Okay, gotcha. So, my point is though, is that the cops had obeyed orders. We saw this across the country in 2020. They stood down, stood back with the city's burned, standing orders were given across the country. So that's when we said, okay, we got to step in and fill the vacuum. And it helped because we did that twice in downtown Berkeley. Once in March, another one in April, back-to-back rallies. And each time the cops got better. We gave them an F for that first one we saw online, where they stood back and did nothing. We gave them about a C. I told my cops, you know, what they did. So we gave them about a C. Second time around, they did better. The third time, Antifa was not even allowed to get anywhere near the park. They all started marching from the Berkeley campus toward the park, where the transporters were. The cops wouldn't get close to it. So they did better. So now my cops, you know, the keepers stepping up and doing their damn job for them, embarrass them into doing their job. So that's the point of having good cops step up, good veterans step up. Even if your local cops are following stand down orders, you can still step up and do the work. And we did that many times. And during natural disaster, there's not enough police to go around. So we wind up escorting a team of doctors and nurses to go out in the field. We wound up doing escorts for trucks that were being truck jacked. We would guard distribution points for disaster relief, like in Houston. This huge warehouse owned by a patriot businessman. He volunteered to have it be used for disaster relief. Trucks were coming in, filling his warehouse with stuff that could put out food, water, you know, sanitary supplies, medicine, all that kind of stuff. And he was worried about the local gangs. They had two rival gangs up either side of him. And so he contacted us, and he'd seen we were on the rooftops of Ferguson, saw us in the news. You know, they're taking against arsonists back in Ferguson, Missouri. So he said, hey, can you guys come and check my warehouse? So we did. We put guys on the rooftop with rifles, same thing. You know, and we did that very overtly so that the local gangbangers realized that if you come to try to steal anything from this warehouse, you know, it's not going to be a good day. And they backed off. So that's where the example we set is what every veteran and every man should be doing in his own community. The big point I was trying to make with all these operations is that this should be the local militia that should be handling all of this.
still. You want to just talk about you and your
the travel and expenses to go do something. The local man to get off their
Good afternoon, all.
the local man
I am Major Step.
organized and take care of their own shit in their own backyard. It's very frustrating. So frustrating. So when you got to this point,
Gibson, and I oversee the Crime Victims Unit for the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office. Once I was notified of the escapees, I immediately gathered.
watches, that's what we call our CPT program. Preparedness tools. The plan was to organize neighborhood watches as the base. In every neighborhood, all the men in every neighborhood knew each other, all the veterans that knew each other, all the ex-cops got together like a little mini militia. Same idea I had before. They turn around and train all the other men. They all start training together, form a neighborhood watch with teeth. Then you have the neighborhood watches come together as a town watch, and then they come together as a county watch
Team of
or sheriff's
experienced
posse.
staff.
When you find a sheriff with the balls to actually have a posse, all of our men in the neighborhood watches
There's my cloud.
each town become part of the sheriff's posse for the whole county. So that was the structure I was advocating before I got arrested. We can at least do this on our own as a stopgap because we don't have governors and state legislatures that will actually
Started calling victims and survivors just to make sure that
that's a national guard, and then the rest of us are the unorganized militia. How does that even make any sense?
we are aware of
Unorganized militia. In other words, you're just a pool of manpower that's not being utilized, but could be utilized sometime in the future. That's a recipe for friggin' fail. So my idea was, well, at least organize neighborhood watches, and town watches, and then county watches, and hopefully county posses.
Ever since that day, I live with anxiety. I can't sleep. I don't feel well. This woman, who we will call Maria, says she did not want to use her real name.
And they turn to the sheriff and say, Sheriff, we want you to know our door's always open. We are your posse in waiting.
Sir, she could be targeted, but she does want people to know her story.
Whenever you want to, we're more than happy to become your posse. That's kind of what we're working on. It's difficult.
Fellow Americans,
Because,
in
hey, they already know that if you try to organize anything in this country, you're going to get infiltrated by the friggin' FBI.
it's with great pleasure that I am announcing that
That's the problem, is that, it's harder to organize people. During a natural disaster, during like Kitover into small town Texas, trying to intimidate small town Texas, then we see local veterans and local citizens show up right with the shotguns. So what happened, what I'm getting at is the mainstream media and the government, they started portraying those.
Congress is currently debating spending.
Right?
She told
Oh, yeah. US citizens. Do you want to touch on that?
Now, the amazing thing about human robotics is not just the fact that if it works, it could be quite versatile.
Right?
It is likely the only robot that is likely to work. And the reason for that is because technology needs scale. Most of the robotic systems we've had so far are too low volume.
With Marines standing behind it, declaring that the MAGA movement is the greatest threat to democracy. So, like I said, that integrated with Biden.
And those low volume systems will never achieve.
You were back in the middle of a political firestorm.
Your democracy, split that to our power. That becomes the MAGA movement is the greatest threat to our power.
Yeah, for walking on the beach with my wife, so I don't know how we ended up here. Never occurred to me.
This band of this group of veterans and police officers, all over the Constitution, is a threat to our power. So that's what they would do. If you're a threat to their power, they're going to say you're a threat to democracy. They're going to smear you and think of racists and fascists and Nazis and all other bullshit. It's all a big smear designed to marginalize you and suppress your voice. That's what they do to anybody on the political right who dares to ever go beyond plain old politics. But even in the war with plain old politics, they did it, right? They finally jumped the shark and began to declare that all Trump voters are racist and Nazis. That's what they ended up. So they got to call you a racist and Nazi. Well, you might as well go ahead and just organize neighborhood watch, organize a child watch. Let's not forget they called us trash. Let's not forget that we dared go after our school boards for putting in all the nonsense into the textbooks, right? They went after us, and even the FBI came after us, and they had to go in front of Congress in a hearing and explain, us for that. Even actively doing activism in our local level. We're going to demonize and attempt to suppress any threat to their power. And so, yes.
Oh, have your choice. Have your pick.
It's kind of funny that you see the media. You can go do a Google search right now. Oath keepers and violence, and you'll see leftist reporters because they're all loyal parts of the machine saying the same thing. The Oath Keeper organization is one of the most dangerous and violent right-wing radical organizations. But yet, not one Oath Keeper ever used force in all of our time across the country doing all the security operations, including suppressing looters after hurricanes. We never fired a shot. Never hit anybody or punched or kicked anybody. Never hit anybody with a baton. Never even pepper sprayed anybody. So we just used deterrence alone. We were successful because the bad guys knew we were carrying guns, and bad guys don't want to get shot. So from all over the country, every time we went out, we never had an issue because they were afraid to close with us. Because like Antifa and Berkeley, they knew my cops were armed. The local police knew, and they said, "Hey, we're not going to try to tell." And they told us we couldn't have any weapons in the park. They passed an emergency ordinance the night before the town of Berkeley did. We did nothing. We couldn't have batons. I bought riot shields for our guys to use. They told us we couldn't use those because they couldn't use it as a weapon. We couldn't have pepper spray. We couldn't have any batons, grass batons. So I was like, so all you're telling me that all I have is my fists or their guns and we're not a cop. And so yeah, it's just the reality. We're not gonna tell fellow officers they can't carry in the park. So they let 14 of our cops carry. Retired and current serving law enforcement Oath Keepers were carrying in the park. I believe Antifa heard about that because they were Antifa in that department. They heard about it and they knew. They didn't close on us. They kept rushing into the park. They didn't obey the city ordinance, the emergency ordinance. They came in with chains and poles and homemade shields. It was like gangs of New York, right? And they came charging towards us. We all lined up. We had body armor and helmets on, all of us veterans, and hard metal gloves. Some of us were wearing cuffs. And then our cops were armed. But Antifa came rushing towards us and stopped about 20 yards away and just froze and didn't close. And then the cops got in between and put the old tape in between the two sides instead of patrolling between the two groups. But it was pointing out that Antifa didn't want to dance, is what I'm saying. And I believe the reason why is because they knew our cops were carrying guns. And also, even if our cops hadn't been there, we'd kick their ass anyway. We were with a bunch of big old bikers. Like I said, it was a hodgepodge of bikers, Oath Keepers, and Proud Boys. So big dudes. I'm not that big, but there's some guys like 6'5", these big dudes, man. So they're ready to rock. Like what's his name? Tiny. The guy from Cookie the Prayer, Big Samoan, he was there too. He's a knockout artist. So the point is that Antifa didn't want to dance. But nowhere do we use violence, only deterrence. And yet, and we're characterized as one of the most violent organizations in the political life to this day. That's the propaganda. And that's what they use against any group that dares do things they don't like. If you do anything they don't like, including running for office if you're a patriot, they will demonize you. So you might as well just say, fuck it. I'm going to go do what the right thing is.
And that was the case on January 6th. The government was trying to say that you were planning.
Have your pick.
That you were, they'll say that you were like commanding your forces, right? They're trying to make it look like. And then, your whole point was we were just there to be at the event.
No, we're there to do security. We're there to be at the event. We're there to protect free speech.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
But
the
even
other
without
thing,
that,
it was deterrent. It was the same thing, right? I mean, that's what you're saying.
yeah, we were there to do the thing that we've done all over the country, starting Trump's inauguration. Protect outside the venue, according to the Secret Service, they would know we're there, know where we're going to be, how to identify our guys. Usually had a certain color armband, had a keeper hat on. And they said, okay, you're not identifying people. We stand outside with a sign that said, volunteer security escort. If you want a volunteer escort to your car, just ask. And if someone was like an older, retired civil veteran, or elderly people, or women and kids, and things like that, they would come up to us and we'd escort them back to their cars. And anything like that. I would say it was a minefield for Antifa. I would say for every oathkeeper you see, there are at least two more you don't see. That's not tolerable. So that was a minefield for Antifa.
Hey Stuart, this is a Republican tree. Can I get put in the queue? I want to ask you a question.
What's going on with the chat stuff? Is it good enough? Is it just mine? Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. Hey Chris, this is Jeremiah Bullfrog actually. So I want to jump on board here with Mr. Rhodes and say, pardon my French.
a lot more detailed on 187, so they go, hey, John, dude, is it on dial away? I 100% am. Yep, I know you're talking about. Okay, because he was calling for an, the insurrection, and the citizen arrest on file, which is the same rhetoric that leads to, so no, he was calling for, what he said is that we need generals and CEOs of major corporations to take over. That's what he said. That we should trust generals who are just politicians and CEOs of major corporations to then take over and run our government. That is the illegitimate fear. But I agree. He was saying that as long as we need, as well as we needed people to go to the Capitol and storm the Capitol and then citizens arrest Obama in 2013. But to replace him with a government, supposedly interim government, run by generals and CEOs of major corporations. Talk about from the frying pan into the fire. So I oppose that. You're correct about that. That would have been horrible. Absolutely right. Now, if you lead into January 6th, he was the general that was pushing for the insurrection. I've got it. I'm on a podcast that they deleted, but it's on the way back to being brought back to life. He was clogged right once a day, right? Or twice a day, actually. That's 100%. But a lot of that is that was my question that I wanted to ask you, particularly when it pertains to 2013 and January 6th. But he's a lot of the rhetoric we're seeing flying around here. The attacks of General Flynn and so forth and so on. And this is a major part of January 6th because they were also General McInerney working alongside with General Malley with pushing PCAPs and Dennis McGarvey and Hammer's scorecard that was pushed on to Mike Lindell and yeah, set him on chase down the wrong hole. Yeah, absolutely. Which where we should have been looking at Seth Kessel and Devon's information and voter rolls, dead voters, the stolen security cards or still security numbers and so on. Right. Right. Well, on the election, I just stopped at. They admitted they didn't follow state law. They called it changing the rules, but they just directly violated state election laws. And then I looked at that and go, okay, who did that? What the state legislature did? And they come to a special session. They could have given by Zoom a special session to amend their election laws to allow whatever. They could have done that. It was unconstitutional and unlawful, but they didn't. So I don't need to see all the proof of the so-called fraud. I only need to see that they didn't follow state election law. And so when you violate state election laws designed to prevent fraud and designed to make it easier to see fraud, I don't need to go still try to prove the fraud. I just have to show that you violated election law. And that triggers a violation of Article 2, which is illegal and unconstitutional. Done. Mic drop. I don't need to see anything else. That was my position. That was John Easton's position, and he was right. Yeah, 100%. But that rhetoric and propaganda that was being pushed at that particular time is what kept people from people. It essentially is what gave them the media and Congress the ammo to deem anybody speaking against the election as illegal or domestic or terrorist or extremist. Hey, I got to wrap this up pretty quick here. My friend has got to end this tonight. So for like five more minutes, we got to end it up. Look, I understand your point. I agree up to this point that when you're dealing with a fight to the death against the deep state, and you have an election in your face has been stolen, and a Chekhov puppet's being installed, and you're scrambling to find some way to stop that from happening and defeat it, you use what you have in front of you, and that the constitutional power President had is to call the militia, A, B, declassify. You can still do that now. That's the most peaceful way to do it, is to declassify and expose the bad guys. Once you've exposed them, that's when you use your power and authority under the Insurrection Act. And I don't believe you should call it the militia. The militia, we the people, are much safer. It
office, all the corrupt Chicon puppets, everything. Show it to us all, and then we have to deal with how you fix it there. The authority of President Trump as the duly elected commander-in-chief. That's the safe place to put it. Not General Galloway and his CEO buddies. I never, ever trusted that for good reason. So your point's well taken, right? Just in the context of the emergency we were having in November and December of 2020, what would you have us do? What would you have President Trump do? What's your alternative?
Well, I mean, I think if we wouldn't have had the PSYOP running on back, and we would have had the people that would stood up, like you mentioned before, and Terry did prior to January 6th to stand up and make the call for, those elections to be looked into. So, he's so
Sure. I mean, it would be great if 6 to use it to divert attention and suppress an investigation. What the Supreme Court done? The Supreme Court threw us into that constitutional crisis when they did their damn job. And Alito and Thomas called them out and said, you guys, we have no discretion how to take this case. We have to take this case. And Roberts refused to do it anymore along with the lefties on the court. So did Kavanaugh, so did Barrett. They sided with the lefties and would not hear the election challenge from Ken Paxton in Texas Sioux, Pennsylvania. That's not
And the way that I look at that is that Allen started back in 2017 with Q and the conspiracies and all that stuff that was around. Because what that did was allow Congress into 2020 to pass through the House. It didn't go through the Senate, but I forget what the bill was called, but it was basically allowing them to do, mega and QAnon supporters as domestic terrorists and domestic extremists, which gave FBI and then Department of Homeland Security the ability to survey American citizens.
They're going to do it anyway. The CIA, I mean, the FBI has been doing that kind of crap for decades. They don't need congressional authorization to do it. But they're going to give that.
PSYOP to get people sitting on their hands where we should have been
Oh,
getting
I beforehand. I mean, Q was absolutely a psyop, absolutely. Because like you said, it kept people waiting. If you don't trust the plan, they were just waiting for this magical plan to materialize. I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off by saying this, but hey, I would really do it with Doug Jensen, right? We're in solitary confinement, and I'd get out of my cell from my break to go take a shower, and I'd come up to Doug and start talking to him. He's like, John, look at this Q Trump. He's got mail to me from my wife. He's in solitary confinement, and he's still, drinking the Kool-Aid on Q. He's like, read this. He sat under the door slot, so I go read it, overnight. Next thing I'm like, yeah, this is complete gibberish. This is a bunch of crap. And he was a true believer. I think Q was a friggin' CIA psyop designed to distract Americans and get them spinning their wheels and not focus on real solutions. I think that's absolutely correct.
Well, I think we need to on that the second round is coming up. I think if we don't get actionable right now, we're going to lose the midterms, and it's going to be Trump first administration all over again. Because if we lose the House, we'll be fucked.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I know some good people. I'm not saying Doug's a bad guy. Good guy. But just what do you know that there are good people? That's the whole point of psyops. That's the whole point of propaganda. Is that people are posted and misled down a primrose path that gets them into a dead end. And they're not ever expected. Like I said, we've got physical necessities. We need a militia system that needs to be restored. We need to get away. We need our ground.
Bring it back on me because I spoke out against this that I respect a lot and still do. But I think once this comes out, they'll realize why I stand by the truth. God, country, and my kids. That's it. And whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, amen, man. I mean, that's what I think it can be difficult. Like, it can be difficult to know who's real and who's not real. It can be difficult because we've seen so many, posers and grifters, and even in our own movement, right? Even inside the political movement, you got grifters. You got talking head grifters that really all they really care about is making money. I'm not going to name names. I don't believe in super fire stuff, but they're there. And they're really not anything but themselves when they're in the end. It's just the way it is. But then you got the CIA and the AGHS and FBI running their own non-religious infiltrating groups, steering people down the wrong path. That's going to happen. So whether General Vowell was part of that, whether he was just sincerely a wannabe dictator, I don't know. But I saw that a long time ago. I was like, nope, I'm not following to do that. That's what I told him. My last letter to him was like this day for inauguration, like January 9 or something. I was like, at least do this. At least do a mass declassification to expose them. You know, but he didn't do it, unfortunately. He can now. I hope he does. I sincerely hope that Tulsi Gabbard, I think she's got her heart in the right place. I hope that she takes the helm on that. We're going to declassify and expose the deep state. So are the damn judges. I don't care if they're, like I said, in the letters. Pick a Democrat, appoint a judge, pick a Republican, appoint a judge. That are dirty, expose them. So for U.S. senators, pick one of them from the Republican Party, one the Democrat Party, expose them. Let's repeat all the way through all three branches, top to bottom, and through the state legislatures too, and state governor's offices. So
I agree. I appreciate your time, man. I really appreciate everything you've done for this country.
well, I'll do my best. But I kind of feel like Cassandra from the tale of in the Trojan horse, right? In Troy. So she was gifted with the ability to see the future, and she was cursed. She would tell her father, the king, Priam, that he was going to have the city to be destroyed and he would be killed. And he just didn't believe her. So that's sometimes kind of how I feel. And I'm not the only guy who feels this way, I'm sure. I'm sure Ivan feels that way. A bunch of us, you probably feel this way too. People just don't listen. You can see what's coming. They don't freaking listen. And when it shows up, like the jihadi attacks, I know are coming. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's coming, guys. Get ready for it. Are you getting ready for it right now? Are you training? Are you organizing with your neighbors and meeting your neighbors and getting off your ass and getting back in shape? Are you getting ready? If you're not doing what you should be doing. So do what you should be doing. And figure out what you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. Call it neighborhood watch. But get off your ass and train.
For their time tonight, man, and we're gonna get another time together. So
Happy to. And we can pick one topic or two that we want to dive into and just go. So, you know, I mean, I'm not a book about oath keepers and my experiences, but I mean, I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. There's no such thing as a perfect person, but you know, everyone wants their oath. Experience. There's something to be said for like, you know, Elmer or Michael Sirkov or any of these groups that stood up. You know, other guys like jumping on the phones and doing first. So a lot of guys have experience dealing with crap around the country, and we should be sharing notes and sharing experiences, doing our AARs. You know, and we can show that we have a better in the future. Like, for example, with week 6, I would have done things differently that day. Would I have still been there? Yes, if the responsibility would be there. But I've been much more mindful of the vulnerability of our security teams to be steered into the thing with that. I wouldn't call J6 a manufactured event. I would call it a manipulated event. We manipulated good people into, like Jessica Watkins might go to that, call it a lobster trap. That's a good way to put it. Make it easy for you to get in unless you're in your front. That's kind of how J6 was. It made it easy for everyone to get in the Capitol. Once it got inside, just walking around in photo shoots. And our guys helped cops. We talk about this all the time. But they did, you know, that's a couple police inside. All that, though, was hidden from the jury, hidden from the public.
They had never seen like this. When they were venturing into the jungle, they stumble upon a spectacle among the herd of
of any oath keeper going in the Capitol or any Proud Boy, because we were already being targeted and going inside made it easy for them, or easier, to finish this false targeting conspiracy.
Last June, my wife and I were profoundly moved to join veterans of D-Day at the new National Memorial overlooking Gold Beach as they return to honor their comrades who never came.
It's never really been head on. It's been a casket. And so I just felt like it was something that was good because I think you got great takes on it, and I think you know the history of it. And so I didn't want to leave that out tonight.
No, that's great. Yeah, it's cool, man. Yeah, I think in closing though, I think the FBI and the CIA should be scattered with 4 winds. Same thing that JFK threatened to do. That's why they killed him. That's what should be done. The CIA from its very inception has been nothing but a shadow government that runs its own foreign policy and its own domestic policy. It's been corrupt. And the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover was in office for life because even though he's a notorious crossdresser, everyone knew he was a crossdresser and gay, he was in power for life because he had the trust a naval or Marine Corps, Army, intelligence officer, or Air Force, nor that I would trust anyone who works for the freaking CIA. I know the CIA, everyone out of that office, they can all go party, like they did that the guy in the office, right? Basically the same thing. Go to someplace else in front of an empty freaking desk in a cubicle with no computer and say, sit here and twiddle your thumbs. While we go and sort through all this crap that you've been collecting out people all those years, all the dirt and this and declassify it. If you put your military intelligence in charge of doing that, and I don't care which one you use or what vehicle, I think that Tulsi Gabbard can figure that out. I trust her to do that.
Awesome time, man. We'll do it again. I can tell you that. It is extremely informative.
Can I just ask a quick question about the Federal Reserve and Congress essentially working together to create 40 trillion and this big beautiful bill creating 10, 20 trillion new debt in 10 years? I mean, isn't that a major problem? The Federal Reserve and Congress creating all this debt?
Absolutely. The Federal Reserve's been a problem from the very beginning, like Ron Paul said a long time ago. It's just taxation. It's a secret. It's another.
In the world of seafood, not all.
He called it a tax. It's a hidden tax.
They kicked me.
It's just taxation. It's a secret. It's another. It's a form of what do you call it? He called it a tax. It's a hidden tax. Inflation is a hidden tax. So when they create money out of nothing, they give it to their buddies first. They get full value on the dollar that they just create out of thin air, and then by the time it gets to you, it's devalued. And now they just create it out of digits. It's just digital. I think what we should do is declare a jubilee. None of that national debt any of us signed on to or agreed with. It was all done illegitimately. So I don't think we owe China jack shit, or anybody else for that matter. Just clear a jubilee like you used to do in the Bible, wipe out all the debts and start over again. That's what I would say. So all those trillions of dollars of debt, we don't owe any of that. And we need to end the Federal Reserve, not just audit it, end it. Because all it is a private cartel of bankers. And they just create money out of nothing, and with that comes massive power. And the Chinese do the same thing, by the way. They can also, the Chinese Communist Party can just print up as many, what do they call it, the yuan? They can print those up all day long. They go transfer it into U.S. dollars, and they come buy farmland and businesses in the United States. It doesn't cost them a dime to do that. They just print money out of thin air. Why are we letting that happen? It's just fiat money. They just print up out of nothing and come here and buy out our politicians, buy out our governors, you name it, and then buy our land and factories and businesses too.
And one last
So why
one
would
on
this
that.
happen?
When you seize their land that they bought in the U.S. too, I mean, shouldn't we do that at this point?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. All that's illegitimate. There should be no ownership of any land in the United States by anyone. And you can't be a businessman in China without being part of the CCP and having political officers of the CCP on your board and watching everything you do. If you're in business in China, you are the CCP. There's no such thing as a Chinese business that's not the CCP. It doesn't exist.
I'm so glad you hit on this point because I've been pounding the drum on this point. If they're visiting China, they're part of the CCP. If America are,
Well, I mean, if they're doing business in China, they're doing business with the CCP.
correct.
And that's the problem. We have a lot of businessmen in this country because they're loyal to themselves and their own bottom line first that have sold out to the CCP. You're right. They've sold out because they get money out of it. Hey guys, I got to run because I'll use my friend's phone. He's got to go to bed.
All good, brother. We'll do it again sometime, man. It was incredible.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate your input. So, I don't know everything. I just, I know from my own experience, and that's all I can talk from. So,
Yeah, well, there's a lot of experience there. Stewart Rhodes, everybody. We'll do it again sometime. Thank you.
yeah, hey, I got to put a shout out to Condemn USA. I encourage folks to support them. It's a good organization. It's kind of like the ACLU for our side. And donations have dropped off. People think that everything's fine now. It's not. We got Tina Peters. We got other political prisoners out there that still need help. So, at least do something to support Condemned USA. Give us a donation. So you go to givesendgo.com/C as in Charlie, USA, CUSA. Givesendgo.com/CUSA to donate to Condemned USA. And for my Give Send Go, it's /Golf Alpha Foxtrot 5 Bravo GAF 5B.
I posted that in the chat. I posted that on my profile.
I could use a shot in the arm too, guys. I'm just rebuilding my life and trying to figure out what I'm doing next. Until I get a pardon, it makes it much more difficult to earn money. So just
Just so you know, I put that up top at the beginning. I don't
Okay.
know if you saw that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And the same goes for all the other Jace Fixers. Every one of us trying to build their lives. We've been destroyed. So hopefully someday we'll get some kind of lawsuit compensation. But guys, right now we got nothing. Most of our people ain't got nothing. Just the way it is. So, all right, guys. God bless you guys. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
God bless you too.
All right. Bye.
If you guys want to stick around for a little bit of reaction, I'll do it for about another 15 minutes, but we'll get him on again. This is something I was working on really hard. Go ahead, Silent. Your hands up, Silent. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Hey, man, this has been a great space. I've been listening the whole night, talked a little bit, but, there's one thing, and I got a question. Is Ivan still awake?
We'll see. Maybe not.
Oh, Ivan, you still awake? He's been working hard, though. Okay, so I got a question real quick, and this is a question, okay? I'm going to make a statement real quick. Okay, in 1951, Harry Truman set the precedent of two...
I have 3 Dr. T-Rubs is a Jew-hating Northern Irish little cuck who sleeps with his dog every day.
Shit, or anybody else for that matter. Screw Jubilee, at least do a Bible. What?
Okay, we're gonna go back to the Buddha book.
Arlington Nissan has something for you. We have selection. Arlington Nissan has something for you because we never have a
Dream. Kinsmen, friends, and lovers, salute the man who has been long away and returns safe. In like manner, his good works receive him who has done good and has gone from this world to the other, as kinsmen receive a friend on his return. 17. Anger. Let a man leave anger. Let him forsake pride. Let him overcome all bondage. No sufferings befall the man who is not attached to name and form, and who calls nothing his own. He who holds back rising anger like a rolling chariot, him I call a real driver. Other people are but holding the reins. Let a man overcome anger by love. Let him overcome evil by good. Let him overcome the greedy by liberality, the liar by truth. Speak the truth. Do not yield to anger. Give, if thou art asked for little. By these 3 steps thou wilt go near the gods. The sages who injure nobody, and who always control their body, they will go to the unchangeable place, Nirvana, where, if they have gone, they will suffer no more. Those who are ever watchful, who study day and night, and who strive after Nirvana, their passions will come to an end. This is an old saying. O Atula, this is not only of today. They blame him who sits silent. They blame him who speaks much. They also blame him who says little. There is no one on earth who is not blamed. There never was, there never will be, nor is there now a man who is always blamed, or a man who is always praised. But he whom those who discriminate praise continually day after day, as without blemish, wise, rich in knowledge and virtue, who would dare to blame him, like a coin made of gold from the Gambu River? Even the gods praise him. He is praised even by Brahman. Beware of bodily anger, and control thy body. Leave the sins of the body, and with thy body practice virtue. Beware of the anger of the tongue, and control thy tongue. Leave the sins of the tongue, and practice virtue with thy tongue. Beware of the anger of the mind, and control thy mind. Leave the sins of the mind, and practice virtue with thy mind.
Just
wise who control their body, who control their tongue, the wise who control their mind, are indeed well controlled. 18. Impurity. Thou art now like a sear leaf. The messengers of death, Yama, have come near to thee. Thou standest at the door of thy departure, and thou hast no provision for thy journey. Make thyself work hard, be wise. When thy impurities are blown away, and thou art free from guilt, thou wilt enter into the heavenly world of the elect, Araya. Thy life has come to an end. Thou art come near to death, Yama. There is no resting place for thee on the road, and thou hast no provision for thy journey. Make thyself an island, work hard, be wise. When thy impurities are blown away, and thou art free from guilt, thou wilt not enter again into birth and decay. Let a wise man blow off the impurities of his self, as a smith blows off the impurities of silver one by one, little by little, and from time to time. As the impurity which springs from the iron, when it springs from it, destroys it, thus do a transgressor's own works lead him to the evil path. The taint of prayers is non-repetition. The taint of houses, non-repair. The taint of the body is sloth. The taint of a watchman, thoughtlessness. Bad conduct is the taint of woman. Greediness, the taint of a benefactor. Tainted are all evil ways in this world, and in the next. But there is a taint worse than all taints. Ignorance is the greatest taint. O medicants, throw off that taint and become taintless. Life is easy to live for a man who is without shame, a crow hero, a mischief maker, an insulting, bold, and wretched fellow. But life is hard to live for a modest man who always looks for what is pure, who is disinterested, quiet, thoughtless, and intelligent. He who destroys life, who speaks untruth, who in this world takes what is not given to him, who goes to another man's wife, and the man who gives himself to drinking intoxicating liquors, he, even in this world, digs up his own root. O man, know this, that the unrestrained are in a bad state. Take care that greediness and vice do not bring thee to grief for a long time. The world gives according to their faith or according to their pleasure. If a man frets about the food and the drink given to others, he will find no rest either by day or by night. He in whom that feeling is destroyed and taken out with the very root finds rest by day and by night. There is no fire like passion. There is no shark like hatred. There is no snare like folly. There is no torrent like greed. The fault of others is easily perceived, but that of oneself is difficult to perceive. A man winnows his neighbor's faults like chaff, but his own fault he hides, as a cheat hides the bad die from the gambler. If a man looks after the faults of others, and is always inclined to be offended, his own passions will grow, and he is far from the destruction of passions. There is no path through the air. A man is not a samana by outward acts. The world delights in vanity. The Tathagatas, the Buddhas, are free from vanity. There is no path through the air. A man is not a samana by outward acts. No creatures are eternal, but the awakened Buddha are never shaken. just if he carries a matter by violence. No, he who distinguishes both right and wrong, who is learned and leads others, not by violence, but by law and equity, and who is guarded by the law and intelligent. He is called just. A man is not learned because he talks much. He who is patient, free from hatred and fear, he is called learned. A man is not a supporter of the law because he talks much. Even if a man has learned little, but sees the law bodily, he is a supporter of the law, a man who never neglects the law. A man is not an elder because his head is gray. His age may be ripe, but he is called old in vain. He in whom there is truth, virtue, love, restraint, moderation, he who is free from impurity and is wise, he is called an elder. An envious, greedy, dishonest man does not become respectable by means of much talking only, or by the beauty of his complexion. He in whom all this is destroyed and taken out with the very root. He, when freed from hatred and wise, is called respectable. Not by tonsure does an undisciplined man who speaks falsehood become a samana, and a man be a samana who is still held captive by desire and greediness. He who always quiets the evil, whether small or large, he is called a samana, a quiet man, because he has quieted all evil. A man is not a mendicant, bhikshu, simply because he asks others for alms. He who adopts the whole law is a bhikshu, not he who only begs. He who is above good and evil, who is chaste, who with knowledge passes through the world, he indeed is called a bhikshu. A man is not a muni, because he observes silence, mauna, if he is foolish and ignorant, but the wise who, taking the balance, chooses the good and avoids evil, he is a muni, and is a muni thereby. He who in this world weighs both sides is called a muni. A man is not an elect, araya, because he injures living creatures. Because he has pity on all living creatures, therefore is a man called araya. Not only by discipline and vows, not only by much learning, not by entering into a trance, not by sleeping alone, do I earn the happiness of release which no worldling can know. Bhikshu, be not confident as long as thou hast not attained the extinction of desires. The way. The best of ways is the eightfold, the best of truths, the 4 words, the best of virtues, passionlessness, the best of men, he who has eyes to see. This is the way. There is no other that leads to the purifying of intelligence. Go on this way. Everything else is the deceit of Mara, the tempter. If you go on this way, you will make an end of pain. The way was preached by me when I had understood the removal of the thorns in the flesh. You yourself must make an effort. The Tathagatas, Buddhas, are only preachers. The thoughtful who enter the way are freed from the bondage of Mara. All created things perish. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way to purity. All created things are grief and pain. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way that leads to purity. All forms are unreal. He who knows and sees this becomes passive in pain. This is the way that leads to purity. He who does not tells himself when it is time to rise, who, though young and strong, is full of sloth, whose will and thought are weak. That lazy and idle man will never find the way to knowledge. Watching his speech, well restrained in mind, let a man never commit any wrong with his body. Let a man but keep these 3 roads of action clear, and he will achieve the way which is taught by the wise. Through zeal, knowledge is gotten. Through lack of zeal, knowledge is lost. Let a man who knows this double path of gain and loss thus place himself that knowledge may grow. Cut down the whole forest of lust, not a tree only. Danger comes out of the forest of lust. When you have cut down both the forest of lust and its undergrowth, then, bhikshus, you will be rid of the forest and free. So long as the love of man towards women, even the smallest, is not destroyed, so long is his mind in bondage, as the calf that drinks milk is to its mother. Cut out the love of self, like an autumn lotus, with thy hand. Cherish the road of peace. Nirvana has been shown by Sugata, Buddha. Here I shall dwell in the rain, here in winter and summer. Thus the fool meditates, and does not think of his death. Death comes and carries off that man, praised for his children and flocks, his mind distracted, as a flood carries off a sleeping village. Sons are no help, nor a father, nor relations. There is no help from kinsfolk for one whom death has seized. A wise and good man who knows the meaning of this should quickly clear the way that leads to nirvana. 21. Miscellaneous. If by leaving a small pleasure one sees a great pleasure, let a wise man leave the small pleasure and look to the great. He who, by causing pain to others, wishes to obtain pleasure for himself, he, entangled in the bonds of hatred, will never be free from hatred. What ought to be done is neglected. What ought not to be done is done. The desires of unruly, thoughtless people are always increasing. But they whose whole watchfulness is always directed to their body, who do not follow what ought not to be done, and who steadfastly do what ought to be done, the desires of such watchful and wise people will come to an end. A true Brahmana goes scatheless, though he have killed father and mother, and 2 valiant kings, though he has destroyed a kingdom with all its subjects. A true Brahmana goes scatheless, though he have killed father and mother, and 2 holy kings, and an eminent man besides. The disciples of Gautama, Buddha, are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on Buddha. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on the law. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on the church. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their thoughts day and night are always set on their body. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their mind day and night always delights in compassion. The disciples of Gautama are always well awake, and their mind day and night always delights in meditation. It is hard to leave the world to become a friar. It is hard to enjoy the world. Hard is the monastery. Painful are the houses. Painful it is to dwell with equals to share everything in common, and the itinerant mendicant is beset with pain. Therefore let no man be an itinerant mendicant, and he will not be beset with pain. Whatever place a faithful, virtuous, celebrated, and wealthy man chooses, there he is respected. Good people shine from afar, like the snowy mountains. Bad people are not seen, like arrows shot by night. He alone who, without ceasing, practices the duty of sitting alone and sleeping alone, he, subduing himself, will rejoice in the destruction of all desires alone, as if living in a forest. '22. The downward course. He who says what is not goes to hell. He also who, having done a thing, says I have not done it. After death both are equal. They are men with evil deeds in the next world. Many men whose shoulders are covered with the yellow gown are ill-conditioned and unrestrained. Such evildoers by their evil deeds go to hell. Better it would be to swallow a heated iron ball, like flaring fire, than that a bad, unrestrained fellow should live on the charity of the land. Four things does a reckless man gain who covets his neighbor's wife: a bad reputation, an uncomfortable bed, thirdly, punishment, and lastly, hell. There is bad reputation and the evil way to hell. There is the short pleasure of the frightened in the arms of the frightened, and the king imposes heavy punishment. Therefore let no man think of his neighbor's wife. As a grass blade, if badly grasped, cuts the arm, badly practiced asceticism leads to hell. An act carelessly performed, a broken vow, and hesitating obedience to discipline, all this brings no great reward. If anything is to be done, let a man do it. Let him attack it vigorously. A careless pilgrim only scatters the dust of his passions more widely. An evil deed is better left undone, for a man repents of it afterwards. A good deed is better done, for having done it, one does not repent. Like a well-guarded frontier fort, with defenses within and without, so let a man guard himself. Not a moment should escape, for they who allow the right moment to pass suffer pain when they are in hell. They who are ashamed of what they ought not to be ashamed of, and are not ashamed of what they ought to be ashamed of, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who fear when they ought not to fear, and fear not when they ought to fear, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who forbid when there is nothing to be forbidden, and forbid not when there is something to be forbidden, such men, embracing false doctrines, enter the evil path. They who know what is forbidden as forbidden, and what is not forbidden as not forbidden, such men, embracing the true doctrine, enter the good path. '23. The elephant. Silently shall I endure abuse as the elephant in battle endures the arrow sent from the bow, for the world is ill-natured. They lead a tamed elephant to battle. The king mounts a tamed elephant. The tamed is the best among men, he who silently endures abuse. Mules are good if tamed, and noble Sindhu horses, and elephants with large tusks. But he who tames himself is better still. For with these animals does no man reach the untrodden country, nirvana, where a tamed man goes on a tamed animal, on his own well-tamed self. The elephant called Dinapalaka, his temples running with sap and difficult to hold, does not eat a morsel when bound. The elephant longs for the elephant grove. If a man becomes fat and a great eater, if he is sleepy and rolls himself about, that fool, like a hog fed on wash, is born again and again. This mind of mine went formerly wandering about as it liked, as it listed, as it pleased, but I shall now hold it in thoroughly, as the rider who holds the hook holds in the furious elephant. Be not thoughtless, watch your thoughts. Draw yourself out of the evil way, like an elephant sunk in mud. If a man find a prudent companion who walks with him, is wise and lives soberly, he may walk with him, overcoming all dangers, happy but considerate. If a man find no prudent companion who walks with him, is wise and lives soberly, let him walk alone, like a king who has left his conquered country behind, like an elephant in the forest. It is better to live alone. There is no companionship with a fool. Let a man walk alone. Let him commit no sin, with few wishes, like an elephant in the forest. If an occasion arises, friends are pleasant. Enjoyment is pleasant, whatever be the cause. A good work is pleasant in the hour of death, the giving up of all grief. Pleasant in the world is the state of a mother, pleasant the state of a father, pleasant the state of a samana, pleasant the state of a brahmana. Pleasant is virtue lasting to old age. Pleasant is a faith firmly rooted. Pleasant is attainment of intelligence. Pleasant is avoiding of sins. 24. Thirst. The thirst of a thoughtless man grows like a creeper. He runs from life to life like a monkey seeking fruit in the forest. Whomsoever this fierce thirst overcomes, full of poison, in this world his sufferings increase like the abounding piranha grass. He who overcomes this fierce thirst, difficult to be conquered in this world, sufferings fall from him like water drops from a lotus leaf. This salutary word I tell you, do ye as many as are here assembled. Dig up the root of thirst, as he who wants the sweet-scented Usira root must dig up the piranha grass, that Mara, the tempter, may not crush you again and again, as the stream crushes the reeds. As a tree, even though it has been cut down, is firm so long as its root is safe, and grows again, thus, unless the feeders of thirst are destroyed, the pain of life will return again and again. He whose thirst running towards pleasure is exceeding strong in the 36 channels, the waves will carry away that misguided man, his desires which are set on passion. The channels run everywhere. The creeper of passion stands sprouting. If you see the creeper springing up, cut its root by means of knowledge. A creature's pleasures are extravagant and luxurious. Sunk in lust and looking for pleasure, men undergo again and again birth and decay. Men, driven on by thirst, run about like a snared hare. Held in fetters and bonds, they undergo pain for a long time, again and again. Men, driven on by thirst, run about like a snared hare. Let therefore the mendicant drive out thirst by striving after passionlessness for himself. He who, having got rid of the forest of lust, after having reached nirvana, gives himself over to forest life, to lust, and who, when removed from the forest from lust, runs to the forest to lust. Look at that man. Though free, he runs into bondage. Wise people do not call that a strong fetter which is made of iron, wood, or hemp. Far stronger is the care for precious stones and rings, for sons and a wife. That fetter wise people call strong, which drags down, yields, but is difficult to undo. After having cut this at last, people leave the world, free from cares, and leaving desires and pleasures behind. Those who are slaves to passions run down with the stream of desires, as a spider runs down the web which he has made himself. When they have cut this, at last, wise people leave the world free from cares, leaving all affection behind. Give up what is before, give up what is behind, give up what is in the middle, when thou goest to the other shore of existence. If thy mind is altogether free, thou wilt not again enter into birth and decay. If a man is tossed about by doubts, full of strong passions and yearning only for what is delightful, his thirst will grow more and more, and he will indeed make his fetters strong. If a man delights in quieting doubts and, always reflecting, dwells on what is not delightful, the impurity of the body, etc., he certainly will remove, nay, he will cut the fetter of Mara. He who has reached the consummation, who does not tremble, who is without thirst and without sin, he has broken all the thorns of life. This will be his last body. He who is without thirst and without affection, who understands the words and their interpretation, who knows the order of letters, those which are before and which are after, he has received his last body. He is called the great sage, the great man. I have conquered all. I know all. In all conditions of life I am free from taint. I have left all, and through the destruction of thirst I am free, having learnt myself. Whom shall I teach? The gift of the law exceeds all gifts. The sweetness of the law exceeds all sweetness. The delight in the law exceeds all delights. The extinction of thirst overcomes all pain. Pleasures destroy the foolish, if they look not for the other shore. The foolish by his thirst for pleasure destroys himself, as if he were his own enemy. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by passion. Therefore a gift bestowed on the passionless brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by hatred. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who do not hate brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by vanity. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who are free from vanity brings great reward. The fields are damaged by weeds. Mankind is damaged by lust. Therefore a gift bestowed on those who are free from lust brings great reward. The Bhikshu, mendicant. Restraint in the eye is good. Good is restraint in the ear. In the nose, restraint is good. Good is restraint in the tongue. In the body, restraint is good. Good is restraint in speech. In thought, restraint is good. Good is restraint in all things. A bhikshu, restrained in all things, is freed from all pain. He who controls his hand, he who controls his feet, he who controls his speech, he who is well controlled, he who delights inwardly, who is collected, who is solitary and content, him they call bhikshu. The bhikshu who controls his mouth, who speaks wisely and calmly, who teaches the meaning and the law, his word is sweet. He who dwells in the law, delights in the law, meditates on the law, follows the law, that bhikshu will never fall away from the true law. Let him not despise what he has received, nor ever envy others. A mendicant who envies others does not obtain peace of mind. A bhikshu who, though he receives little, does not despise what he has received, even the gods will praise him, if his life is pure, and if he is not slothful. He who never identifies himself with name and form, and does not grieve over what is no more. He indeed is called a bhikshu. The bhikshu who acts with kindness, who is calm in the doctrine of Buddha, will reach the quiet place, nirvana, cessation of natural desires, and happiness. O bhikshu, empty this boat. If emptied, it will go quickly. Having cut off passion and hatred, thou wilt go to nirvana. Cut off the five senses, leave the five, rise above the five. A bhikshu who has escaped from the five fetters, he is called Okatina, saved from the flood. Meditate, O bhikshu, and be not heedless. Do not direct thy thought to what gives pleasure, that thou mayest not for thy heedlessness have to swallow the iron ball in hell, and that thou mayest not cry out when burning, this is pain. Without knowledge there is no meditation. Without meditation there is no knowledge. He who has knowledge and meditation is near unto nirvana. A bhikshu who has entered his empty house, and whose mind is tranquil, feels a more than human delight when he sees the law clearly. As soon as he has considered the origin and destruction of the elements, khandha, of the body, he finds happiness and joy which belong to those who know the immortal nirvana. And this is the beginning here for a wise bhikshu: watchfulness over the senses, contentedness, restraint under the law. Keep noble friends whose life is pure and who are not slothful. Let him live in charity, let him be perfect in his duties. Then in the fullness of delight he will make an end of suffering. As the Vasika plant sheds its withered flowers, men should shed passion and hatred, O ye bhikshus. The bhikshu whose body and tongue and mind are quieted, who is collected and has rejected the baits of the world, he is called quiet. Rouse thyself by thyself. Examine thyself by thyself. Thus self-protected and attentive wilt thou live happily, O bhikshu. For self is the lord of self. Self is the refuge of self. Therefore curb thyself, as the merchant curbs a good horse. The bhikshu, full of delight, who is calm in the doctrine of Buddha, will reach the quiet place, nirvana, cessation of natural desires, and happiness. He who, even as a young bhikshu, applies himself to the doctrine of Buddha, brightens up this world like the moon when free from clouds. The Brahmana, Arhat. Stop the stream valiantly. Drive away the desires, O Brahmana. When you have understood the destruction of all that was made, you will understand that which was not made. If the Brahmana has reached the other shore in both laws, in restraint and contemplation, all bonds vanish from him who has obtained knowledge. He for whom there is neither this nor that shore, nor both him, the fearless and unshackled, I call indeed a Brahmana. He who is thoughtful, blameless, settled, dutiful, without passions, and who has attained the highest end, him I call indeed a Brahmana. The sun is bright by day, the moon shines by night. The warrior is bright in his armor. The Brahmana is bright in his meditation. But Buddha, the awakened, is bright with splendor day and night. Because a man is rid of evil, therefore he is called Brahmana. Because he walks quietly, therefore he is called Samana. Because he has sent away his own impurities, therefore he is called Pravragita, a pilgrim. No one should attack a Brahmana, but no Brahmana, if attacked, should let himself fly at his aggressor. Woe to him who strikes a Brahmana, and woe to him who flies at his aggressor. It advantages a Brahmana not a little if he holds his mind back from the pleasures of life. When all wish to injure has vanished, pain will cease. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who does not offend by body, word, or thought, and is controlled on these 3 points. After a man has once understood the law as taught by the well-awakened Buddha, let him worship it carefully, as the Brahmana worships the sacrificial fire. A man does not become a Brahmana by his plaited hair, by his family, or by birth. In whom there is truth and righteousness, he is blessed. He is a Brahmana. What is the use of plaited hair, O fool? What of the raiment of goat skins? Within thee there is ravening, but the outside thou makest clean. The man who wears dirty raiments, who is emaciated and covered with veins, who lives alone in the forest and meditates, him I call indeed a Brahmana. I do not call a man a Brahmana because of his origin or of his mother. He is indeed arrogant and he is wealthy, but the poor, who is free from all attachments, him I call indeed a Brahmana. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has cut all fetters, who never trembles, is independent and unshackled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has cut the strap and the thong, the chain with all that pertains to it, who has burst the bar and is awakened. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who, though he has committed no offense, endures reproach, bonds, and stripes, who has endurance for his force and strength for his army. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who is free from anger, dutiful, virtuous, without appetite, who is subdued and has received his last body. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who does not cling to pleasures, like water on a lotus leaf, like a mustard seed on the point of a needle. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who, even here, knows the end of his suffering, has put down his burden, and is unshackled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana whose knowledge is deep, who possesses wisdom, who knows the right way and the wrong, and has attained the highest end. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who keeps aloof both from laymen and from mendicants, who frequents no houses and has but few desires. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who finds no fault with other beings, whether feeble or strong, and does not kill nor cause slaughter. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who is tolerant with the intolerant, mild with the fault finders, and free from passion among the passionate. Him I call indeed a Brahmana from whom anger and hatred, pride and envy have dropped like a mustard seed from the point of a needle. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who utters true speech, instructive and free from harshness, so that he offend no one. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who takes nothing in the world that is not given him, be it long or short, small or large, good or bad. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who fosters no desires for this world or for the next, has no inclinations, and is unshackled. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has no interests, and when he has understood the truth, does not say, how, and who has reached the depth of the immortal. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who in this world is above good and evil, above bondage of both, free from grief from sin, and from impurity. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who is bright like the moon, pure, serene, undisturbed, and in whom all gaiety is extinct. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has traversed this miry road, the impassable world and its vanity, who has gone through and reached the other shore, is thoughtful, guileless, free from doubts, free from attachment and content. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who in this world, leaving all desires, travels about without a home, and in whom all concupiscence is extinct. I call indeed a Brahmana who, leaving all longings, travels about without a home, and in whom all covetousness is extinct. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who, after leaving all bondage to men, has risen above all bondage to the gods, and is free from all and every bondage. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who has left what gives pleasure and what gives pain, who is cold and free from all germs of renewed life, the hero who has conquered all the worlds. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who knows the destruction and the return of beings everywhere, who is free from bondage, well-faring, Sugata, and awakened, Buddha. Him I call indeed a Brahmana whose path the gods do not know, nor spirits, Gandharvas, nor men whose passions are extinct, and who is an Arhat, venerable. Him I call indeed a Brahmana who calls nothing his own, whether it be before, behind, or between, who is poor and free from the love of the world. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, the manly, the noble, the hero, the great sage, the conqueror, the impassible, the accomplished, the awakened. Him I call indeed a Brahmana, who knows his former abodes, who sees heaven and hell, has reached the end of births, is perfect in knowledge, a sage, and whose perfections are all perfect.
At Domino's, now you can carry out a one-topping pizza with any of our 5 crust types, and you can order any way you want to, online or by phone. So choose hand-tossed, crunchy thin crust, gluten-free, New York style, or handmade pan. And your favorite topping from Domino's.
The Voice of the Silence by H.P. Blavatsky. Narrated by Matthew Schmitz. Preface. The following pages are derived from the Book of the Golden Precepts, one of the works put into the hands of mystic students in the East. The knowledge of them is obligatory in that school, the teachings of which are accepted by many theosophists. Therefore, as I know many of these precepts by heart, the work of translating has been relatively an easy task for me. It is well known that in India, the methods of psychic development differ with the gurus, teachers, or masters, not only because of their belonging to different schools of philosophy, of which there are 6, but because every guru has his own system, which he generally keeps very secret. But beyond the Himalayas, the method in the esoteric schools does not differ, unless the guru is simply a lama, but little more learned than those he teaches. The work from which I here translate forms part of the same series as that from which the stanzas of the Book of Dzyan were taken, on which the secret doctrine is based, together with the great mystic work called Paramartha, which the legend of Nagarjuna tells us was delivered to the great Arhat by the Nagas or serpents, in truth a name given to the ancient initiates. The Book of the Golden Precepts claims the same origin. Yet its maxims and ideas, however noble and original, are often found under different forms in Sanskrit works, such as the Jnanastvari, that superb mystic treatise in which Krishna describes to Arjuna in glowing colors the condition of a fully illumined yogi, and again in certain Upanishads. This is but natural, since most, if not all, of the greatest arahats, the first followers of Gautama Buddha, were Hindus and Aryans, not Mongolians, especially those who emigrated into Tibet. The works left by Arya Sangha alone are very numerous. The original precepts are engraved on thin, oblong squares, copies very often on discs. These discs or plates are generally preserved on the altars of the temples attached to centers where the so-called contemplative or Mahayana or Yogacara schools are established. They are written variously, sometimes in Tibetan but mostly in ideographs. The sacerdotal language, Senzar, besides an alphabet of its own, may be rendered in several modes of writing in cipher characters, which partake more of the nature of ideographs than of syllables. Another method, Lug, in Tibetan, is to use the numerals and colors, each of which corresponds to a letter of the Tibetan alphabet, 30 simple and 74 compound letters, thus forming a complete cryptographic alphabet. When the ideographs are used, there is a definite mode of reading the text, as in this case the symbols and signs used in astrology, namely the 12 zodiacal animals and the 7 primary colors, each a triplet in shade. In other words, the light, the primary, and the dark stand for the 33 letters of the simple alphabet, for words and sentences. For in this method, the 12 animals, 5 times repeated and coupled with the 5 elements and the 7 colors, furnish a whole alphabet composed of 60 sacred letters and 12 signs. A sign placed at the beginning of the text determines whether the reader has to spell it according to the Indian mode, when every word is simply a Sanskrit adaptation, or according to the Chinese principle of reading the ideographs. The easiest way, however, is that which allows the reader to use no special or any language he likes, as the signs and symbols were, like the Arabian numerals or figures, common and international property among initiated mystics and their followers. The same peculiarity is characteristic of one of the Chinese modes of writing, which can be read with equal facility by anyone acquainted with the character. For instance, a Japanese can read it in his own language as readily as a Chinaman in his. The Book of the Golden Precepts, some of which are pre-Buddhistic while others belong to a later date, contains about 90 distinct little treatises. Of these I learned 39 by heart years ago. To translate the rest, I should have to resort to notes scattered among a too large number of papers and memoranda collected for the last 20 years, and never put in order, to make of it by any means an easy task. Nor could they be all translated and given to a world too selfish and too much attached to objects of sense to be in any way prepared to receive such exalted ethics in the right spirit. For unless a man perseveres seriously in the pursuit of self-knowledge, he will never lend a willing ear to advice of this nature. And yet such ethics fill volumes upon volumes in Eastern literature, especially in the Upanishads. Kill out all desire of life, says Krishna to Arjuna. That desire lingers only in the body, the vehicle of the embodied self, not in the self, which is eternal, indestructible, which kills not, nor is it killed. The Katha Upanishad. Kill out sensation, teaches Sutta Nipata. Look alike on pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat. Again, seek shelter in the eternal alone. Ibid. Destroy the sense of separateness, repeats Krishna under every form. The mind, or manas, which follows the rambling senses, makes the soul, or buddhi, as helpless as the boat which the wind leads astray upon the waters. The Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, it has been thought better to make a judicious selection only from those treatises which will best suit the few real mystics in the Theosophical Society, and which are sure to answer their needs. It is only these who will appreciate these words of Krishna Christos, the higher self. Sages do not grieve for the living nor the dead. Never did I not exist, nor you, nor these rulers of men, nor will any one of us ever hereafter cease to be. The Bhagavad Gita. In this translation, I have done my best to preserve the poetical beauty of language and imagery which characterize the original. How far this effort has been successful is for the reader to judge. HPB. Fragment 1. The Voice of the Silence. These instructions are for those ignorant of the dangers of the Lord Idi. He who would hear the voice of Nada, the soundless sound, and comprehend it, he has to learn the nature of Dharana. Having become indifferent to objects of perception, the pupil must seek out the Raja of the senses, the thought producer, he who awakens illusion. The mind is the great slayer of the real. Let the disciple slay the slayer. For when to himself his form appears unreal, as do on waking all the forms he sees in dreams, when he has ceased to hear the many, he may discern the one, the inner sound which kills the outer. Then only, not till then, shall he forsake the region of Asat, the false, to come unto the realm of Sat, the true. Before the soul can see, the harmony within must be attained, and fleshly eyes be rendered blind to all illusion. Before the soul can hear, the image, man, has to become as deaf to roarings as to whispers, to cries of bellowing elephants as to the silvery buzzing of the golden firefly. Before the soul can comprehend and may remember, she must unto the silent speaker be united, just as the form to which the clay is modeled is first united with the potter's mind. For then the soul will hear and will remember, and then to the inner ear will speak the voice of the silence, and say, if thy soul smiles while bathing in the sunlight of thy life, if thy soul sings within her chrysalis of flesh and matter, if thy soul weeps inside her castle of illusion, if thy soul struggles to break the silver thread that binds her to the master, know, O disciple, thy soul is of the earth. When to the world's turmoil thy budding soul lends ear, when to the roaring voice of the great illusion thy soul responds, when frightened at the sight of the hot tears of pain, when deafened by the cries of distress, thy soul withdraws like the shy turtle within the carapace of selfhood. Learn, O disciple, of her silent God, thy soul is an unworthy shrine. When waxing stronger, thy soul glides forth from her secure retreat, and breaking loose from the protecting shrine, extends her silver thread and rushes outward. When beholding her image on the waves of space, she whispers, this is I. Declare, O disciple, that thy soul is caught in the webs of delusion. This earth, disciple, is the hall of sorrow, wherein are set along the path of dire probations traps to ensnare thy ego by the delusion called great heresy. This earth, O ignorant disciple, is but the dismal entrance leading to the twilight that precedes the valley of true light, that light which no wind can extinguish, that light which burns without a wick or fuel. Saith the great law, in order to become the knower of all self, thou hast first of self to be the knower. To reach the knowledge of that self, thou hast to give up self to non-self, being to non-being, and then thou canst repose between the wings of the great bird. Aye, sweet is rest between the wings of that which is not born nor dies, but is the throughout the eternal ages. Bestride the bird of life, if thou wouldest know. Give up thy life, if thou wouldest live. 3 halls, O weary pilgrim, lead to the end of toils. 3 halls, O conqueror of Mara, will bring thee through 3 states into the 4th, and thence into the 7 worlds, the worlds of rest eternal. If thou wouldest learn their names, then hearken and remember. The name of the first hall is ignorance, avidya. It is the hall in which thou sawest the light, in which thou livest and shalt die. The name of the second hall is the hall of learning. In it thy soul will find the blossoms of life, but under every flower a serpent coiled. The name of the third hall is wisdom, beyond which stretch the shoreless waters of Akshara, the indestructible fount of omniscience. If thou wouldest cross the first hall safely, let not thy mind mistake the fires of lust that burn therein for the sunlight of life. If thou wouldest cross the second safely, Stop not the fragrance of its stupefying blossoms to inhale. If freed thou wouldest be from the karmic chains, seek not for thy guru in those Mayavic regions. The wise ones tarry not in pleasure grounds of senses. The wise ones heed not the sweet-tongued voices of illusion. Seek for him who is to give thee birth in the hall of wisdom, the hall which lies beyond, wherein all shadows are unknown, and where the light of truth shines with unfading glory. That which is uncreate abides in thee, disciple, as it abides in that hall. If thou wouldest reach it and blend the two, thou must divest thyself of thy dark garments of illusion. Stifle the voice of flesh. Allow no image of the senses to get between its light and thine, that thus the twain may blend in one. And having learnt thine own ajnana, flee from the hall of learning. This hall is dangerous in its perfidious beauty, is needed but for thy probation. Beware, Lanu, lest dazzled by elusive radiance thy soul should linger and be caught in its deceptive light. This light shines from the jewel of the great ensnarer, Mara. The senses it bewitches, blinds the mind, and leaves the unwary an abandoned wreck. The moth attracted to the dazzling flame of thy night lamp is doomed to perish in the viscid oil. The unwary soul that fails to grapple with the mocking demon of illusion will return to earth, the slave of Mara. Behold the hosts of souls. Watch how they hover o'er the stormy sea of human life, and how exhausted, bleeding, broken-winged, they drop one after another on the swelling waves. Tossed by the fierce winds, chased by the gale, they drift into the eddies and disappear within the first great vortex. If through the hall of wisdom thou wouldst reach the veil of bliss, disciple, close fast thy senses against the great dire heresy of separateness that weans thee from the rest. Let not thy heaven-born, merged in the sea of Maya, break from the universal parent, soul, but let the fiery power retire into the inmost chamber, the chamber of the heart and the abode of the world's mother. Then from the heart that power shall rise into the sixth, the middle region, the place between thine eyes, when it becomes the breath of the one soul, the voice which filleth all, thy master's voice. 'Tis only then thou canst become a walker of the sky, who treads the winds above the waves, whose step touches not the waters. Before thou settest thy foot upon the ladder's upper rung, the ladder of the mystic sounds, thou hast to hear the voice of thy inner God in 7 manners. The first is like the nightingale's sweet voice, chanting a song of parting to its mate. The second comes as the sound of a silver cymbal of the Deianis, awakening the twinkling stars. The next is at the plaint melodious of the ocean sprite, imprisoned in its shell. And this is followed by the chant of Vinya. The fifth, like sound of bamboo flute, shrills in thine ear. It changes next into a trumpet blast. The last vibrates like the dull rumbling of a thundercloud. The seventh swallows all the other sounds. They die, and then are heard no more. When the 6 are slain, and at the master's feet are laid, then is the pupil merged into the one, becomes that one, and lives therein. Before that path is entered, thou must destroy thy lunar body, cleanse thy mind-body, and make clean thy heart. Eternal life's pure waters, clear and crystal, with the monsoon tempest's muddy torrents cannot mingle. Heaven's dewdrop glittering in the morn's first sunbeam within the bosom of the lotus, when dropped on earth becomes a piece of clay. Behold, the pearl is now a speck of mire. Strive with thy thoughts unclean before they overpower thee. Use them as they will thee. For if thou sparest them, and they take root and grow, know well, these thoughts will overpower and kill thee. Beware, disciple. Suffer not, even though it be their shadow, to approach. For it will grow, increase in size and power, and then this thing of darkness will absorb thy being, before thou hast well realized the black foul monster's presence. Before the mystic power can make of thee a god, Lanu, thou must have gained the faculty to slay thy lunar form at will. The self of matter and the self of spirit can never meet. One of the twain must disappear. There is no place for both. Ere thy soul's mind can understand, the bud of personality must be crushed out, the worm of sense destroyed past resurrection. Thou canst not travel on the path before thou hast become that path itself. Let thy soul lend its ear to every cry of pain, like as the lotus bears its heart to drink the morning sun. Let not the fierce sun dry one tear of pain before thyself hast wiped it from the sufferer's eye. But let each burning human teardrop on thy heart, and there remain, nor ever brush it off, until the pain that caused it is removed. These tears, O thou of heart most merciful, these are the streams that irrigate the fields of charity immortal. 'Tis on such soil that grows the midnight blossom of Buddha, more